Hi, this is Laurie from Interior Design Community and To the Trade. And I have Nile here. Hi, Nile.
Hi.
So excited. We have Heather Cleveland. Heather, how are you? Introduce yourself a little bit to our audience.
I'm great. Hi, guys. So I'm Heather Cleveland of Heather Cleveland Design. I'm in sunny California, just outside of San Francisco in the Bay Area. And I've been in the industry 27 years, and my firm is 22 years old as of last October.
Yes, Heather was just rubbing it in that it was
Yeah,
so
we're a little
nice
jealous.
where she's from, and we're
Yeah.
at
You
like
get what you pay
5
for.
degrees here in the Northeast.
Yeah, we're just a tad jealous.
Just a tad. So let's learn a little bit about you. I mean, you've been a member of Interior Design Community, obviously, and your work is really, really good. We always start a little bit about why design? Why did you get into this area of work?
Well, my mom is a fine arts artist, and my dad is a musician and also ran the prison arts program for the state of California my whole childhood. So we actually had artists coming and staying with us pretty regularly throughout my childhood because the state would not put them up in housing. They were volunteers, and they would come in and they would run a workshop on poetry or spoken word or pottery or calligraphy. I mean, you name it, they did it. So I met a wide variety of artists from all over the world, actually. My dad had people coming from South Africa, from China, from Korea, from you name it, Italy, etc.
Wow.
And so it was just kind of in my blood, I think. I was definitely that quintessential kid who used all their babysitting money to, buy paint and buy fabric. I knew how to sew, and so I'd sew curtains and duvet covers and talk my friends into coming over to paint the room and, things like that. So it's sort of an obvious thing, although it took me a minute to get there. I didn't start off as an adult in interior design, but once I did, it's definitely the right move for me.
What part of the job do you like the most? Are you much more technical minded? Do you like fabric?
Oh, God, no.
What is the part that is your favorite?
I think definitely not technical. That's why I have people for that, technical people. I'd say my two favorite things are, it's clear I'm an extrovert. I really actually do become friends with a lot of my clients. I love the social aspect of kind of collaborating and brainstorming. And you spend, a year on a project with a client. You get to know them, their kids, their dog. Sometimes you do multiple projects. And so they might have a child who's 10 on the first project, and then they go off to college when you're on their third project, et cetera. And I really like that evolution of kind of knowing their family and their history and to meet their friends sometimes. So the social element I love. Nothing is more fun to me than going to the design center and just playing with fabric. I'm a huge fabric junkie, wallpapers, all the textiles. That just totally turns me on. So I can spend hours, digging through fabrics, and that really sparks a lot of creativity for me.
You know what? You're shocking me because I have seen your strength in kitchen and bath, and usually the kitchen and bath designers are afraid of the textile. I don't know what it is about.
No,
kitchen
I
and
would
bath
do way
designers.
more of that. It's just that's what people hire me for, because they don't, you can get a sofa an inch too long, but you can't have your cabinets be an inch too long, right?
No.
So they feel, I think, a little less secure. Yeah. So
yeah,
I love it all, but I love the fabrics.
I love that. I actually think that the best designers are people who have that technical, left brain, right brain stuff going on, because they can do the very technical, space planning and get it down to 1/8 of an inch or less than 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch perfection. And then also love the gooey fabrics and can play with the patterns and do unique, fun things on that front too, So who's your favorite textile brand right now? Who are you loving?
This is going to sound really basic, but I love Kravet. Their stuff
Me
is just
too.
really, their stuff is beautiful. I would define my
love
own.
them too.
And they're really a wide variety, which I like. So depending on the project, I can get something that's really like chinoiserie and sort of, old school, classic, traditional, but I can also find super funky things that feel like they're inspired from Africa or Latin America or what have you. So, and my own style, I kind of define it as
too, and they sometimes bring out things from the archive. All the time. I mean, I think they're very well run. I mean, of course, they have their business has changed a lot in the last year.
Yes.
But
it really has.
But I think that they're really good. They're a great manufacturer.
It's a great one-stop shop.
Yeah, and their wallpapers are
and that's what
exactly.
they
Their
want to be considered. And
wallpapers
they're
are
always
really
on the
great.
forefront. Yeah,
They are. They really are.
and they go forward to I always think that they're always thinking ahead of the game from technology. Like I went to a Cravid event, I want to say a year ago, with Jesse Lazarus, who's their chief innovation
Oh, yeah.
officer. I think that's what his title is. And he was talking about integrating materials into like for the Apple, 3D space so that you can immerse your client into the 3D world and that they could
Whoa.
build out product lines that you could, experience it in 3D and walk them through this space in 3D. And they were teaching designers about that and how they're going to integrate product lines into the 3D space so that when you get to that point with your visualizing product in 3D space, they're already investing millions of dollars into that world so that their product lines can be seen in a different way as technology changes. I think that's brilliant of them.
Super smart, because we've actually started using AI to take our photorealistic renderings, and you can actually feed it into AI and it will allow you to do a virtual walkthrough. So you feel like you're in the bathroom.
What?
And it's just, we'll put like 2 or 3
Oh my God.
views, like the view of the shower, the view of the vanity, and the view of the storage or whatever. And it takes like 2 minutes. You just put it in and 2 minutes later you have this virtual walkthrough. It's actually, I did one on my Instagram page just to show people what it looks like. It's so cool. And it's easy. So that's probably why Cravid's doing that.
It can prevent
I'm
problems.
so behind.
Yes, you got to get on it, Nile. You got to get on it.
And it's funny because I saw the other day somebody talking about how they were using AI to like render, like they were taking like a clay 3D and throwing it in and having AI render it. And I'm like, and here I am still drafting letters and emails.
No, I did the same thing now. So when we do our presentations, like our design presentations, we have the first page is a pencil sketch of the exterior of the client's home, and AI does it. We take a picture of the house, we scan it into the thing, and then it produces and you can have it be messy, you can have it be super tight, you can have it like whatever style you want. And we just do like it looks like a black and white pencil sketch of their home. So excited over that. Like it's the tiniest little thing at the beginning of the presentation.
Are you using Artscape? Is that what you're using?
So cool.
For that?
Yeah. And so to be fair, my drafter and my, all things rendering are done by someone else. But yes, that's what she said she's using.
Yeah, I think so that's what Jeannie's using. I was just on a panel. I just moderated a panel for the vacation rental designers in Vegas, and they were fantastic, by the way. That conference is fantastic. There's a lot of really, really, really good information out of there. The panel we were on was an AI panel, and designers were talking about that. And then I had a meeting this morning with a new company that is starting. It's got the guy who starts it, who's doing it is in LA. He is getting his PhD in AI at University of California, UCLA. I think he's UCLA getting his PhD in AI.
Yeah.
And it's Muralink, MURALINK.com. And he's looking for people to test it. So if you wanted to play around with a new company that's a competitor to ArchSynth, go check them out, because why not? Like
I will definitely
I just talked to him for an hour. He's a good kid.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, he got into UCLA and had like an 8% acceptance rate. So that's impressive already.
I was like, PhD, I definitely am going to be following up with you, kid.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I looked at his website. I gave him a lot of harsh critiques. I felt kind of bad. I was like, your logo isn't good.
That's good.
Your images are bad. They're not real design. Like these are things, you need to work with designers on real things.
Ouch.
So I was very much gave him the feedback, but I think he's like, this is exactly what I needed to hear. Like I need that.
Yeah.
I've introduced him to some designers. In fact, after I get off this, I'll introduce him to both of you too, so that hopefully you can send him over some images and he can play with it, and you guys can figure that out, because he's got some really neat conversions as well. He did like conversion to watercolor, conversion to the model. They have that the drawings and the different kinds of drawings you could pick. And it was, instead of having to create your own prompt, it had basically drop down so that you could pick a prompt that was easy to use.
Oh, I like that.
Which I think is that no designer wants to spend the time prompting.
No.
Ugh.
Agreed.
Yeah. So you love the textiles, you love Cravid. I love that. how did you learn all aspects? Because there are so many designers who are specializing in kitchen and bath
Yeah.
or interiors. And honestly, I'm seeing this change before our eyes. I'm seeing more and more whole home designers who are doing it all. And I definitely am seeing it from the brands addressing that designers are doing it all. How did you decide to go down that path where you do it all early on before others?
So the way I got into design was, ironically, I worked at a tech firm. I was in sales. I didn't know anything about tech. I knew all the words. That was about it. But, and I was part of that 97 tech bust in San Francisco. So I was last hired, first fired kind of a thing, and kind of panicked, like, oh my God, I lost my job. This was my first like big girl job. I was like maybe 25 or something. And so I did the honorable thing and called my mommy up and cried. And she just said, well, if you didn't have to work for money, what would you do? And without even taking a beat, I was like, design homes. Like it just fell out of my mouth. I knew immediately what I would do. And I did it all the time for my friends anyway. And I was totally that girl in college who'd find the old chair on the side of the road and reupholster it and sand it down. And, you know, my whole house was like roadside junk, basically. So when I decided to go back to school, so I had a 4-year regular, you know, bachelor's degree. And that was in psychology, ironically, but that has paid off, let me say. Dealing with husbands and wives, that psychology degree's come in real handy.
Yes.
But so I went to FIDM, which in LA still exists, but in San Francisco during COVID, it shuttered. That's the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. So it's a 2-year program for design. I chose interior design. They have a bunch of different creative career paths you can choose. So I did that, and I worked for a stager in a very fancy part of San Francisco, Pacific Heights. It's like where all the really, really wealthy people live. As my sort of side job. And then IKEA opened its first Northern California store a month before I graduated. So I went and applied to be a kitchen designer, and they offered me the kitchen manager job. I think that extroverted part paid off. So I ran that department for 4 years. So I can do a kitchen in my sleep just because it's literally just boxes, right? Like in terms of layout, like it's really just fitting boxes. Once you get over the hump of being intimidated, it's really actually straightforward. But I had always had a passion for the aesthetic of things, the fabric, the tile, the countertops, the upholstered goods, etc. So the kitchen, I'd kind of backdoored into the kitchen just because of the job opportunity, and then got my chops. And then people saw when I left and started my firm, they saw all my kitchens. And so that just kind of propelled the kitchen and bath part of things. But I was always doing the soft
first
goods.
of all, I have to tell you, I love that. And honestly, Nile knows this, that is because I end up getting to conversations with designers who are students all the time. And sometimes they're in the middle of nowhere, like they're not near anything. And I always tell them, they're like, I don't know what I can do for a job after I go to school. Like, I don't know where, there aren't very many design firms. There's no design centers where I am.
And they don't pay very much when you're new.
Yeah.
You know?
And I tell them, they're new students out of design. I'm like, go get a job at Lowe's or Home Depot in the kitchen department.
I think you said that recently on a recent podcast. Did you just say that? Like 2 or 3 episodes ago?
I did.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I mean, it's boot camp. It's really good.
I mean, you're going to learn what you need to learn to start off. And then eventually you start your own business doing kitchens and baths. And then you move into the interiors, and then you're on your own and you're starting your way. And that's a very good way if you're going to learn. I would much rather see them go to Home Depot or Lowe's and work in the kitchen design department than to work at a furniture store. I just don't think they're going to learn what they need to learn to actually foundationally start a business.
They're going to get pressure.
I mean,
to
especially
sell.
if you're in the middle of nowhere. Everybody needs a kitchen. Everybody needs a bathroom.
Yep.
You know, you can service those clients. And there are some big projects in the middle of America. I have been a judge on Design KC magazine for the last 4 years. And I just got back from their annual gala. I was blown away, by the way. This is in Kansas City, Missouri. And there were 650, 700 people at this annual gala that they do for their awards night for the local magazine in Kansas City, Design KC magazine. And it was a production. There was a red carpet lined with roses, was a reception room, and then a big room. We were in an old, train station, the Union Station.
Oh,
there were lights. It was
beautiful.
TV presenters doing the MC. It was very well done. Very, very well done. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is next level. I've been into events in LA and New York that were not as well produced. So
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
like, there's a good design happening all over America.
It's true.
Really,
It
really
really
high-end
is.
design. So get
Yep.
to know how to do the technical
Yep.
stuff. I think
Yep.
you did the
I
right
agree.
thing.
By
Smart.
accident.
Smart.
Well, accident. I backed my way
A
into it.
happy
You know,
accident.
yeah,
Happy
a happy
accident.
accident.
Yeah.
I'll take it. It just worked out that way. Yeah. Yeah.
What are your favorite? I'm curious, like I always am when we go to all these trade shows, what is your favorite trade event in our industry?
So I really love the IDS, Interior Design Society, does a conference actually. It's not a trade show. I
Yeah.
like the workshops a lot more, to be honest. I get way more out of that.
Yeah.
I do like the trade shows, but I find that because most of them are not in California and there's a very California look, and I am part of that look, which is a lot of indoor, outdoor, a lot of natural materials, a lot of texture, neutrals with a little color, but not a lot of color is involved I mean, in general, of course, there's exceptions. So I find
Yeah.
that I don't end up finding a lot of good new lines when I go to the trade shows. I went to Round Top, I went to High Point, I went to KBiz, and I do find good stuff. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as much as the trip should produce for me. So I
Yeah.
tend to go
It's
to
a lot of money.
workshops a lot more.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
money, which is fine, but I need
Yeah.
to come back with a lot of takeaways.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
So
yeah,
I love Jenny and Maddie. I was just with them in Vegas. I think that they are so great. And I love IDS. I think they've done a fantastic job
yeah,
bringing IDS forward in a big way at a crucial
Yep.
time, really, too.
yeah,
They're really a great organization, Interior Design Society. They do amazing trips. They have amazing opportunities for designers to learn. And I really like the culture they've built, too. I want to
Same.
say, of the
Very, very
association,
friendly and
it's
inclusive.
welcoming. It feels like they build a culture that, and I can't promise you 100% every single time you go into an IDS meeting, they're going to like come over and grab you and say hi and introduce you. But I know that that's what they're building. I know that that's what they're teaching is like the new
Yeah.
people, go up to them, talk to them, make them feel welcome,
Mhm.
help them, answer questions, and be helpful to them. And as somebody who was new to this industry, I love seeing that people do that. I mean, it's really important, especially for someone, just venturing out and trying to get to know people in the area and their colleagues. It's scary. It's scary to
Yeah.
do that if you're not prepared for that. And if you're met with, cold
Gatekeeping.
behavior,
Yeah.
gatekeeping, it makes it so that you don't want to be a part of that. So I love that's the culture they're building, and that
their
you know
conferences
that
are
when you talk to
incredible.
them.
Right.
Yeah,
I did
yeah,
the one in
absolutely.
New Orleans, and just every speaker was like better than the next speaker. I mean, it was just
That's
I
what you
couldn't take
want.
notes
That's
fast
what you
enough. I
want.
was just like, there's just so many takeaways. And then I really enjoy the Havens list, the Haven workshop. I'm not sure if you're
Yes.
familiar.
I
Yeah,
know I am
that.
familiar with that.
Yeah, I went to that this past September, and you come back with like a 2-inch thick workbook of all the classes you took. Like they take the time to actually create a workbook so that you don't really even need to worry about a bunch of notes, et cetera. And they record every single thing and they send you the links so that you have all of that to work through. Like they give you so much to do, it's overwhelming. But when you break it down task by task, it's just, just in the last 4 months, I've watched my business really transform just from that workshop. So many takeaways, and I
Wow.
barely implemented much of what they do. It's expensive, but it's gorgeous. It's in Sonoma in wine country, and everybody has their own little like cottage, and the food's incredible, and it's just a really, really incredible. It's about 30 people, so it's small. It's very intimate, and you just learn. There's people who've been brand new to the business, been in it for 40 years and everything in between. So there's a lot of good like information sharing, but also camaraderie, et cetera. So those kinds of things I like. And I often end up getting more leads for vendors from those conferences from individuals, where then later I'll say like, oh, hey, Sally, we met at Haven. Do you have a good upholsterer? Because you're also in the Bay and mine retired, or, that kind of a thing. I do better actually
Yeah.
that way with resources. So yeah.
Because vetted resources from other designers are the best resources. I swear. I
Exactly.
think that's 100% true, because we know what we need. So we
Yeah.
will tell you, don't go from that. Buy
Yeah.
this.
I've had that too, where they're like, yeah, don't, I'll ask them, what about this person? They're like, no. So
No. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah.
I love those designers who give the information, the real skinny and share. And I
Oh
encourage
gosh.
every
Yeah.
designer to be that way because someday you're going to need that advice too. Someday you're going to need that
And there's
back.
enough
So
work.
give.
There's enough work for all of us. We don't,
Oh my
I
God,
am like,
yes.
I will share any and everything. I feel like it comes back to you in so many
Same.
ways. And I don't know. I prefer to lead with generosity. No, I don't need to hoard all the clients. They're not all right for me either. They're not a good match, or their
No,
aesthetic isn't a good
exactly.
match, or yeah. So I definitely feel like sharing is
Yeah.
caring.
Yay. Yay.
Exactly.
So, what do you think you've been in business for a long time. What do you think the biggest advantage to your business that has sort of separated you from the pack in your own industry, in your own area? What do you think is your edge where you are? Why would they
Yeah,
hire
that's a
you
good
versus
question.
another designer?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I've actually written about that in some of my newsletter blog posts. I
I
really
think I
feel like
saw that. That's why.
there's a ton of talent out there. Like there's no shortage of extremely talented interior designers everywhere, the Bay Area for sure. So a potential client is gonna have no trouble finding a good designer who's going to give them a beautiful product in the end. I think process is where I stand out. Probably a decade, really revising, revamping over and over, editing again, re-editing again, like that didn't quite work, or that works, but I need to take it further, or just really from the second you call me to the very final walkthrough when I hand you your goodbye packet is like super dialed in. I have all these touch points with marketing that are really personalized for each client and are throughout the process. So the day you meet me in the first design meeting, the end of the project, there's all these little sort of small gifts that I give that are really personal, not like a mug that says Heather Cleveland Design on it, because like I don't even want that mug and I'm Heather Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
So, things that are consumable or things that are, it's not going to be attractive enough for my house, right? But yeah, I try really hard to have a very, very dialed in process. So when you reach out to me, you get an email that says, here's the next steps. And then after the call, here's the next steps. Here's the design questionnaire. Here's the style guide. You're going to, in 2 weeks, receive this from me. And then once you've received that and given me your feedback, we'll give you a start date. And then once the start date is, here's your calendar. And then every week I send an update to every single client saying, hey, this is what happened last week. This is what didn't quite go right. And so here's the solution to the thing that didn't go right. I don't tell them about the problem until I have a solution, or at least the beginnings of a solution. Like I'm working on it. This is what I'm heading towards. I haven't quite figured it out, but we got it. Don't you worry, kind of a thing. So it's rather smooth. I mean, obviously there's things like COVID that happen that are out of our control, but it's a very smooth process, and we tell them every time something happens what's going to happen next, even though we've already told them that in the past. So we're repeating ourselves over and over, and I keep telling the client, you don't have to memorize everything. You will be spoon-fed all of the information you need, like along the way. There'll be no moment where you have to reach out to me asking what's happening next, because I'm going to get to you with that answer before you even have the question. And that just takes a lot of anxiety. Once I started those Friday emails, that was a huge shift. Clients really stopped asking me questions most of the time, unless they were time sensitive. They would just be like, okay, yeah, Heather's going to tell me everything on Friday. I don't actually need to be continually asking. And like your clients, they're very busy, powerful, like right, highly intelligent people who do not have time to look up something and ask me about it over and over. They just need me to preemptively tell them that. So I think I kind of went on for a while there. Sorry, but that's kind of the thing that I take a great pride
really
in.
Good.
I think you should take pride in that, because we just started this past month doing a 15% challenge for our interior design community.
I saw, yeah.
We got a lot of signups. I got like 300 signups across the platforms, and we had our first meeting. And that was was a Friday update, so that you're letting the client know what what is the status update for today. So you're always showing the value of what you do, so you don't feel like you have to shave things off all the time, because that comes as a guilt response. Like I feel guilty that I haven't been communicating, so I'm going to cut my fees. And I don't want designers cutting their fees, because they're barely making
No.
enough to begin with sometimes. And
Yeah,
so
some
I
are
want
right. Yeah.
them committing to the value to the communicating their value to that client on a weekly basis. Our first meeting was structured around all those profit leaks, but then we're also going to get into the next meeting will be proposals and investment guides and how we work through
Oh yeah, I
those,
spent a
so
lot
that,
of time on those.
I
Yeah,
know, right?
yeah,
And what I loved about what you just said too was that you never are finished with the
no,
process. It's
right,
you're refining and refining anytime another issue. And every successful designer I know, your SOPs are never done. Like you're constantly
correct.
reviving
Mm-hmm.
your standard operating procedures. You want to get better. You want to give a better client experience. You want to pick up,
Mm-hmm.
you obviously value information that is actionable that will help you be better at what you do. So I love
Definitely,
everything.
definitely.
It's is the
Thank
mark
you.
of a true and experienced, very profitable designer, Heather, that you're saying all of these things because this is what it takes, is
Yeah,
never giving up,
and it's
learning.
not sexy for sure. And it's,
No.
when you're a creative, it's hard to do the business side of things. And I pushed that off for probably 15 years. I was like, no, 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 I'll just, it'll be fine. And it was chaos in the background. Like it was total chaos.
Yeah.
And once I finally started, and to be fair, I think, is it Kimberly Seldon who has the 15-step process or something? I think that's her name. She's Canadian.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I love
Yeah,
Kim.
so I got inspired by that. I mean, my process is not her process. I don't
Same.
run my business the way she does, but she gave me a lot. Yeah, so she gave me a lot of ideas, and then I was able to kind of spin off and use my own. And then these conferences I go to, I'm always like asking other designers that I admire, hey, what does your SOP look like? What do you like? I ask those questions, those backdoor questions, not like the front of the office. And that's like the Friday email came from somebody saying, hey, you should do them on Friday before they spend the weekend going through all the things that went wrong. Monday
That's
hit you
100%
with a
why,
whole bunch.
right there. 'Cause
Exactly.
they're going to be like
So Friday it goes out,
aggravated by
and
Monday.
you're going to leave me alone now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
little things
It
like,
creates
yeah,
that
it definitely has
anxiety
made my
comes
life
into
easier.
play. They're sitting over the weekend. They're like, what is happening? I don't know.
Yeah.
I will give you one thing that just what you just said came up during our one of the panels I did this week. And I think it's a good tip for designers out there. There's a designer, his name is Chad Andreessen, and he's Coat in San Diego. He's awesome. I love him. Said he loves that book, Unreasonable Hospitality.
Oh, I was
and he's
actually going to
created
mention
something
that. That's how I got some of my
Yeah,
ideas.
he's
Yep. I
amazing.
love that book.
And
Yep.
he has this idea that he does for his clients that I think is brilliant. And of course, he does whole home renovations. So he has the budget to do this. So you'll have to scale this down if your budgets are smaller. But I think it's a really fun idea. But it's a box that you can get through Amazon, or, there are some cheap versions of it where it opens up and there's a little video thing that plays automatically, and he records a video of every single person that worked on the project that he can, and they're like,
Oh, that is
there were
really
bumps in
sweet.
the road, but we're so glad you can, congratulations on your new home, and blah, 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 blah. And everybody is doing a little video that's just a
I
few,
love that.
like less than a minute clips
Right.
of different people that worked on the project, thanking them for their business, delivering the product to them and how happy they are for them. And in it is a bunch of their snacks and a little letter. And in the letter, it says there are 6 or 5 or whatever Easter eggs hidden through your home, little
I
rocks
love
with a
that.
QR code, and he's hidden them in like the laundry room at the top shelf or in the pantry at the bottom. Each one of them has a QR code that has a little gift for them, like they can go to coffee and go get a Starbucks this morning on us.
Oh, that's so
$1.
great.
And one of them is a big, like, here, go have dinner. Here's a QR code for an Uber Eats or something of that, something like, here, you're tired today. Why don't you order Uber Eats on us? Or why don't you go to this restaurant? Like, get some flowers from this florist. Like, little things that are local to them that are just reminders. And then, of course, it sets one of the things that I think from a psychology standpoint that you would think is good is that, how like after the punch list got done and you're like afraid to contact that client again because you don't want to hear any more problems. You don't want to hear that something else went wrong. And that's something I think a lot of designers are in that weird space after they've done the punch list.
Right.
They're like, I'm done helping you.
Right.
You need
Right.
to just be happy with what you've got at this point. And I don't want to open that door to anything else. So they don't talk to the client for a while. But this is such an amazing way to smooth any of those problems out. They're not going to think
Oh,
about
yeah.
the little edge of this table has a little, it's not perfect now that we've lived
Right.
with it. They're not thinking of that anymore because they're like, oh, they were so nice. They were so nice. They
Yeah.
said this thank you. And we got this Starbucks and we got all these little things from them. They're not going to bug you about the little things. And then when you re-engage them for the exterior in a year and you want to talk to, hey, it's time to do your exterior. They have such
They have
happy
fond
thoughts.
memories.
Every time
Yeah.
they're looking at those Easter eggs, you're top of mind again and they're referring
Yeah,
you.
that's
And
really
I think
smart.
I think it's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. Here, I thought
Yeah.
it
So
was
there's
clever
another
because I would buy them like a Heath bowl that went with their kitchen or something, like
Yeah.
like Heath tile or something, which
Yeah.
is cool, but it's like, $180, not this whole. But I love, you could totally pare that down. It doesn't need, you could just do the
could.
box with like cards from each trade, right? Like
You
just
could.
Yep.
on your stationery, and each person writes a little note. It doesn't have to be so tech heavy per se.
It doesn't have to be tech heavy.
That's right.
It could be notes. It could be
But it's
thank
such
you when
a great
everybody
idea.
signed it. It doesn't have to be, but it's so fun. I mean, if you can do
And
that.
having
And
it
I
show
think
up.
this little thing isn't that expensive,
Yeah.
believe it or not. It just
Oh, I'm
auto
sure.
play box.
If it's just
not
coffee
that.
and
It's less than
yeah,
$100.
yeah. And all the little gifts are, between
Yeah.
20
I
and
love
30 and
any
$40
idea
each.
that can yeah, absolutely. And you could do lots of
I'm
little
gonna
things
do
too,
my
just like
version of
little
that.
sweet. Like I care about you. I want you to be happy,
And does he ship
Absolutely.
it like later?
Anyway, I thought that was a really cool idea.
It is. Does he ship it later? Like the project's done and then like a month later?
Get it directly, they get it right after the punch list is completed. So that's
Okay.
his step once the punch list is completed, that's when they get it. And then, they're happier. They're not going to pick up extra things that they're upset about. I mean, I don't even know if he's thinking that.
Oh, yeah.
I think that they wouldn't pick up on extra things and bother them about anything going wrong after that because it's such a sweet message,
Yeah.
And I think
also
it
feel
smooths
sort of
over the problems because there always were problems no matter what.
Of course.
It's a project and it can sometimes it leaves on a sometimes it's hard to end the project. And I'm curious about what you think about this from a psychology background. And I know Nile has struggled with this sometimes too. It's like when the project is over, how do you end it on a high note? Like it's hard because at that point people are so tired of spending money. They're so tired of you. You're so tired of them. Like to end it with a way that it just feels effortless and feels like there's going to be a continuation of business with them and that they really are going to refer you to people. They don't hate you. So that you can ask for a good review. All of those things that are like weigh on a designer's mind because they're afraid to ask for a review because absolutely things went wrong,
Yeah.
And they don't want them bringing that up, And so to me, it's like little things that they can do from a psychology standpoint to end it in a way that is that they can get the good review, that they can get the referrals. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think one of the first things that I do is at the very beginning of the project on the discovery call and then also in the in-person consultation at the job site, I tell them some kind of story about something that went terribly wrong, how we solved it, and how that person's now my bestie or something like that, right? Like, so I'll give them a version of things are going to go wrong. You need to understand that. And here, let me just tell you this crazy story about this one time where such and such and such happened, kind of a thing. And it just makes it, feel a little more real. I think giving an actual example makes it feel a little more real instead of just sort of this pitch that I'm giving of like, it's not going to be perfect, et cetera. They don't even hear that, I don't feel like. But then when I tell an anecdotal story, so I plant the seed at the very beginning of the project that things will go wrong. And then I assure them that everything that goes wrong, I am here for the long haul. I'm not running away. I'm not afraid of problems. I've been doing this long enough. There's always a solution, and I will come at it with all the integrity possible, and we will do our best to resolve whatever problem comes up and take accountability. And if it's not our fault, we will still work to make sure the person whose fault it is takes accountability. Like we become their ally and their advocate along the way. And I restate that throughout the entire process. And then At the very end, of course, just Nile, like you were saying, or maybe Laurie, you were saying about Nile, but that struggle of like they're sort of got a bad taste in their mouth because this last little thing that we couldn't get over the hump with, like everything is in and done, and this one piece came a month later, and you have to kind of crawl back over and give them the piece, right, kind of a thing, and have that uncomfortable moment. But we present them with we give it to them virtually now, but we used to give them a binder that was basically the name of every single item that, like, if it's a kitchen, like the tile. So if it's, in 10 years, somebody else owns the home and they need to, replace the tile, the name of it, where to get it, all of that, how to care for everything, like care packages for each of, like, this is how you care for your countertop. This is, et cetera, kind of a thing. And this is the contact person if in 5 years, you can't get in touch with me for some reason and you need to speak to my cabinet guy, he's willing to talk through and guarantees his own work, et cetera, kind of a thing. So it leaves them feeling like I've thought through the potential things that could come up, like I'm leaving, but our care for the product and the project isn't leaving. Like you still have access to things getting dealt with if you discover in 6 months that something, if suddenly for some reason the tiles start chipping and you're not doing anything wrong, okay, well, there's a flaw and we're not going to run away from that kind of a thing. So I think that reassurance and having it be in a packet that feels, so it'll have a picture of the tile and then the name, the color, and, all of the information, the item number, et cetera, so that they feel like, oh, okay, like she's not abandoning us if something doesn't go right. And so that just builds more confidence and trust. And that's really the core for me is if you trust someone, whether it's someone you hire or your partner or whoever, you give them a lot more latitude for being human and making mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Versus if somebody comes in and acts all sort of arrogant and I know everything and just do what I say because I'm the expert and doesn't collaborate and has that attitude, then and I think that relationship building that I talked about at the top of the hour is really part of that, like really working they don't have to be my best friend. Like I don't need to go on vacation with them, but some of them I have gone and wine tasting with, or, done a little event with, or brought them to a trade event that they think they're really interested and they find it fun and they're just sort of design curious or, what have you. I think that goes a long way, like really showing that I'm human and I will make mistakes, but I also have integrity and I will own whatever issues come up and I'm here to help you. I'm not here to just make money off of you, but it's a relationship. So those are my tricks.
Now, is that binder, is that a digital or is that physical?
Yeah,
and is that
digital
part of your
now.
project management software? Okay.
Yeah, it's
Is that like what software are you using for project management? Is it Midoma
we use
or
Programa.
someone?
It's Programa.
Programa. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they're out of I think Australia.
I know them. I've been out. Yeah. I've been to I met them when they came into Boston.
Okay.
They're Australian.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's out of Australia.
I think they're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what you use for the
cracks.
Yeah.
I use that for everything. So what we do, Nile, is we take our spec package, so everything's already in there, right? With the little picture and the description. And there's the client facing one and then there's the internal one. So we just kind of go in and clean up the internal one because they don't need to see all the price. I mean, if they're going to price shop me, they've already signed a contract saying they can do that, but it won't mean anything to me. So I don't really care if they know the price later. I'm like, we're already done. I'm not giving you your money back. So do what you need to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I, so we clean it up so they don't like stare at the markup and feel enraged by that or whatever. But we're also not holding secrets. So if they want to take the time to dig around and find the price of that and look at what they paid, have at it. But most of them don't really care about any of that. But yeah, so we use Programa, but we kind of go in and edit it a little bit. And then we take the manufacturer's guides and we import those, like we add those in. So it ends up being like we'll take those sheets and then we'll, put them in with the sheets like that are from like the care from the manufacturer of the countertop or that kind of a thing. And then it goes by room and by type. So it might be, if we did the whole house, it might be kitchen. And then here's the 25 things in the kitchen. Here's what it is and where we got it and a picture. So what we're all talking about the same thing. Because sometimes people don't know what backsplash is. They're like, what's a backsplash? So it's like, if we say backsplash tile, they don't know. So we have a picture of it so they know exactly what that thing is and can speak the proper sort of words around it. And then it'll have inserted, if it's a countertop with care, then it'll show you what it is. And then there's like a link. You click on the link and then up comes the sheet that's got the care from the manufacturer or for the leather or the countertop or the velvet or what have you, kind of a thing. And they love that. Like,
You know what I would do? I love that you do that. I think it's genius, by the way. I think what you're doing is very, very smart. I love that people give a project binder, even digital or physical, whatever you do at the end of it, with product care instructions. I love that. But I think you should also develop a price for that and tell them it's that if you want to give it away for free, you give it away for free, but you just tell them that, because it
not a bad
costs
idea.
you money
Not
to
a
put
bad
all that
idea.
together.
Yeah.
So put a price on it. It's worth like XYZ dollars, but we're giving it to you for free because you've been such a great client.
And we do build,
to have.
that's a great idea. Yeah, we build in, like, they pay us for the time to create that. Like when I do my proposal, so the hours are covered to do it. But your point is, how many hours are you doing it? And then saying, like, we have this freebie at the end or whatever, this value added thing. Yeah, that's worth, I mean, it takes us about 10 hours. So that's $2,500, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, it probably is worth probably double that.
way
really.
more
I
than
mean, it's
that,
probably worth
especially when they sell a house.
Yeah.
Agents
'Cause
love
you
that.
Yeah.
When
like,
real
for
estate
that
agents
person,
find
they
out
sell the
about
house,
it, they're
yeah.
thrilled.
have that.
That's
It's
gold.
huge.
That's gold.
Yeah.
That's
Gold.
gold.
Yeah.
And the
Not to
next
mention the real
and their
estate
next
agent,
designer
too.
will love that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It shows
Yeah. No,
investment.
they're happy to have it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, Heather, you've
Yeah.
been so fantastic. I'm going to make sure everybody follows you after this.
Oh, good.
So
Thank
make
you.
sure, check out Heather Cleveland and Design. And we're going to put your links in our email newsletter and on our blog.
you.
And this is going to go to every podcast platform out there. Make sure you're subscribing, everyone. And
Like and subscribe.
And definitely go visit Heather. Yes, so much. Bye-bye now.
Well, you guys have been really fun to talk to. Thank you so much. It was really a great conversation.
Thanks.
Oh,
Thank
this has been
you.
great.
Yeah. Take care. Stay
Great.
warm.